The strange routine. Hook. The morning in the small town was always quiet. Streets were empty. Only the sound of birds and the soft hum of delivery trucks filled the air. But for one man, mornings were never simple. Every day at the same hour, the same figure would walk down the street carrying a heavy bag full of letters and packages. It was not a man. It was not even human. It was the alien mail carrier. The alien was tall, almost touching the porch roof when he stood close. His skin shimmered like dull silver under the sun. Two black eyes, large and glassy, seemed to stare through walls. His arms were long, ending in three-fingered hands that held the packages with surprising care. He wore a strange blue uniform that looked like fabric, but sometimes it moved, almost like it was alive. Nobody asked where he came from. Nobody dared. He had always been there, as far as people remembered. At first, the alien's routine was normal. He delivered letters, placed parcels neatly, and gave a stiff nod before leaving. People accepted it, even if they felt a little uneasy. The town had grown used to strange visitors since the Earth signed trade deals with other species. But still, no one invited him for tea. No one asked about his life. He was the mail carrier, nothing more. But for the narrator, things began to change. At first, it was small. One morning, the alien placed the letters upside down. Another day, he left the package in the middle of the yard, staring at the house for too long before walking away. His breathing grew louder, heavier, like a broken machine. It was strange, but not enough to call for help. Not yet. The man watched from his window each morning. The alien walked slower now, shoulders hunched. His silver skin had a faint glow like there was fire under it. Sometimes he muttered sounds, deep, throaty noises that made no sense, like a song from another world. The man pressed his ear against the glass, heart beating fast. It was not just delivery anymore. Something was happening. One day, the alien paused at the mailbox. He placed a small parcel inside, then leaned close, pressing his face against the cold metal. He stayed there too long. When he finally pulled back, a wet mark remained on the box, as if he had been breathing heavily, or whispering into it. The man's stomach turned. He felt like the alien wasn't delivering mail anymore. He was watching. The neighbors began to notice too. Mrs. Green complained her letters smelled strange, like burning metal. Mr. Harris swore the alien scratched his door with those long fingers while dropping off a package. Kids stopped playing outside during the morning route. Parents pulled them back in, closing curtains as the alien passed. Still, no one spoke directly to him. Who would dare? His black eyes seemed endless, like falling into space. And when he looked at you, really looked, it felt as if he knew every secret you had ever tried to hide. The man told himself it was nothing. Just nerves. Maybe aliens had different customs. Maybe this was normal. But in his chest, fear grew. Each morning felt heavier, the silence sharper. The alien's shadow stretched long across the front door. The man sat frozen in his chair, listening to the slow drag of alien feet on the gravel. Then came the night sounds, at first faint. A low hum outside the window, almost like someone singing. But not human singing, more like vibrating metal, or the cry of a machine breaking apart. The man peeked through the curtains. The alien stood across the street under the lamp. His skin glowed faintly, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. He was not carrying his bag. He was just standing there, staring at the house. The man closed the curtain fast, his hand shaking. Sleep would not come that night. He sat in the dark, waiting for footsteps on the porch. But they never came. At sunrise, the alien walked his route again like nothing had happened. Bag over shoulder, packages in hand. Routine. Normal. Or maybe pretending to be normal. The man wanted to believe it was just in his head. But deep down, he knew something had shifted. The alien was changing. Each breath, each glance, each strange sound carried a weight, like a storm building on the horizon. And one morning, when the alien placed the mail down, he did not leave right away. He lingered, his black eyes fixed on the man's window. The man froze, barely breathing. Slowly, the alien tilted his head like studying a puzzle. Then his lips pulled back, not quite a smile, but close enough to twist the man's stomach into knots. The package sat untouched on the porch. Inside, the man's heart pounded loud enough to drown out the world. The routine was no longer just routine. It was the start of something else. Something dangerous, something that would not let go. Signs of change. The alien mail carrier did not walk the same anymore. His steps were slower, heavier, leaving deep marks in the gravel road. Every morning, the man at the window noticed the change. The alien's silver skin now glowed faintly as if light burned beneath it. The glow shifted, pulsing like a heartbeat, neighbors whispered. Mr. Harris claimed the carrier dropped his package on the roof instead of the porch. Mrs. Green said her letters came back damp, as if pulled through water. Children dared each other to peek from their windows when the alien passed, but none lasted more than a second before ducking down, hearts pounding. One morning, the man saw something new. The alien stopped at the gate, bent low, and dragged his three-fingered hand across the mailbox. When the hand lifted, faint marks remained. Not scratches, symbols. Strange curling lines that glowed faint blue before fading away. The man felt his blood run cold. It wasn't delivery anymore. It was marking. The alien's breathing grew louder too. Not normal breath, but heavy bursts, sharp and broken. As if every inhale was a fight. Sometimes he made low sounds, deep and animal-like. At night, the man heard it from across the street. Humming, throaty growls, strange clicking noises. They echoed in the dark, crawling into the walls of the house. The town started to change with him. Mailboxes stood crooked, bent from unseen force. Dogs barked wildly whenever the carrier walked by, only to fall silent, tails tucked, when he turned those black eyes toward them. One morning, an entire row of houses found glowing slime dripping from their letters, burning small holes in the paper. The man wanted to look away. He told himself to stop watching. But each morning his eyes returned to the window, drawn by a force stronger than fear. And each morning the alien looked more unstable, more dangerous. Then it happened. The man had stepped onto his porch, pretending to collect his mail as usual. But this time the alien did not leave right away. He stood there, tall shadow looming over the small porch steps. His head tilted, eyes locked onto the man's face. For a long moment neither moved. The man's throat went dry, and then the alien spoke. Not in words he understood, but in guttural sounds. A deep, vibrating noise shook the wood beneath the man's feet. The alien's uniform shifted too, rippling like waves as if alive, reacting to his mood. The glow from his chest pulsed faster, like a heartbeat racing out of control. The man stumbled back inside, slamming the door shut. Through the wood he heard it, the alien breathing hard, then letting out a long, mournful sound. Almost like a call. A call for what? That night sleep refused to come. The man sat awake, eyes fixed on the dark window. At midnight, the humming began again, closer this time. He opened the curtain by an inch. The alien stood in the yard, not with his bag, not with letters. His body glowed brighter now, streaks of light running across his arms and chest like living veins. He lifted his head toward the sky and let out a sound so loud, so alien. The air itself seemed to shake. The man dropped the curtain, heart racing. Something was happening, something far beyond simple mail delivery. The next morning, he found a note in his box. Not written by human hands. The letters curved, glowed faintly, and shifted when touched. He held it for only a moment before the symbols burned his skin, forcing him to drop it. The note vanished before it hit the ground, dissolving into thin air. And then the worst sign of all. That evening, while the man tried to calm his mind, a broadcast crackled over the local comms channel. A robotic voice repeated the same line. Warning. Postal species entering cycle. Avoid contact. Stay indoors until further notice. The man froze. Postal species? Cycle? The alien wasn't just changing. He was entering something, a season, a time of instinct, of danger, of madness. And the man realized with horror, he had been chosen, too close for comfort. The man no longer watched the alien from his window. Now the alien watched him. It began subtly. The alien lingered too long after dropping the mail, his black eyes fixed on the door, unblinking. Sometimes he tilted his head as though listening to something inside the house. Other times his lips parted in a soundless whisper, breath fogging against the mailbox. Then came the gifts. At first harmless. A strange flower left on the step, its petals glowing faintly blue, pulsing with light like a beating heart. The next day, a smooth stone that hummed when touched, vibrating softly in the man's palm. The third day, a bundle of thin silver wires twisted into a shape that resembled a human face. The man's stomach turned. These weren't mistakes. These were offerings. Neighbors whispered louder now. Mrs. Green saw the alien crouching in her yard, sniffing the air like a predator. Mr. Harris swore he woke at night to see the carrier standing at the edge of his lawn, staring toward the man's house. Children spoke of nightmares filled with clicking sounds and glowing hands reaching through their windows. The man tried to ignore it, but each day the alien's obsession grew. When the man stepped outside, he felt the heavy gaze burning into his skin. When he walked down the street, he heard the slow shuffle of feet behind him. Once at the market, he turned, and there the alien was, standing between aisles, holding no bag, holding no letter, just staring. The man's chest tightened with dread. This was no longer delivery. It was pursuit. That night the noises returned. Not humming this time, scratches. Slow, deliberate scratches at the door, the sound of claws dragging across wood. The man sat frozen, sweat dripping down his face as the noise circled the house. Scratch by scratch, step by step, then silence. Minutes passed like hours. The man finally dared to peek through the curtain. His heart lurched. The alien stood directly in the yard. No bag, no uniform. His silver skin glowed brighter than ever, streaked with lines of red light. His chest heaved with heavy, broken breaths. His black eyes reflected the house like mirrors, and in his hand was the man's own mailbox, ripped from the ground. The alien placed it gently on the porch as if returning a gift. Then, without a word, he turned and vanished into the shadows. The man locked every window, every door, but no lock felt strong enough. No wall thick enough. The alien wasn't just near anymore. He was inside the man's life, inside his space, inside his mind. The next morning, the man found something carved into the porch wood. Not with a knife, but with clawed fingers. 3 symbols, glowing faint blue, fading slowly in the daylight. They looked like words, but not in any language he knew. He didn't need translation. The meaning was clear. The alien had claimed him. The man's chest tightened with fear. His hands trembled as he touched the symbols. They burned faintly against his skin, leaving a mark. He rubbed at it, but it wouldn't fade. That evening, the broadcast returned. The robotic voice was sharper now, urgent. Warning: postal species entering peak cycle. Avoid eye contact. Do not engage. Victims may be targeted for binding. Victims binding. The man's stomach dropped. It wasn't just obsession. It wasn't just strange behavior. It was instinct, unstoppable, primal, dangerous, and he was the chosen target. The warning: the man could not sleep. Every creak of the house, every whisper of the wind felt like claws scratching at the walls. The alien's shadow seemed to live in every corner, waiting. Morning brought no comfort. The mailbox was gone, ripped from the porch entirely. In its place sat a strange object, a small cube of silver, smooth as glass, glowing faint blue. The man dared to touch it. The surface rippled like water, then lit up with symbols. The cube spoke, not with words, but with a deep vibration that shook his bones. A voice filled the air, mechanical and urgent. Warning: carrier species approaching full cycle. Instincts unstable. Avoid at all costs. Report contact immediately. The cube dissolved in his hand, leaving only dust. The man's breath caught in his throat. Report contact immediately? To who? To what? He looked around, half expecting soldiers or officials to arrive. But the street was silent. Empty. Only him and the alien's invisible presence pressing closer each day. That night the warning proved real. The man was jolted awake by a sound inside the house. Not scratching this time. Not humming. Footsteps. Slow, heavy footsteps on the wooden floor. His heart slammed against his ribs. He reached for the lamp but froze when a low sound rolled through the darkness. A guttural call vibrating deep, inhuman, filled with need. The man forced his eyes to the corner of the room. And there he was, the alien, not at the window, not at the door. Inside. His silver skin glowed faint red now, streaks of light crawling across his body like fire veins. His chest rose and fell in sharp bursts, each breath loud and desperate. His black eyes locked onto the man, wide, unblinking. The alien raised one clawed hand, not in attack but in offering. Something dangled from his grip. A necklace. The chain shimmered with strange stones, each pulsing like a heartbeat. The man's throat closed. This wasn't a gift anymore. This was a claim. The alien stepped closer. The floor groaned under his weight. His breathing quickened, his body trembling. The air felt hot, electric, alive with instinct barely chained. Then, a loud shriek cut through the house. Not human. Not alien. A signal. The alien froze, body shuddering as if struck. He let out a low growl, chest heaving, and dropped the necklace to the floor. His black eyes flickered with something: anger, pain, desire. Then he was gone. The man sat in the dark, body frozen, sweat dripping down his back. On the floor, the necklace still pulsed with faint light. He didn't touch it. He didn't dare. At dawn, another message crackled over the comms channel. All citizens be advised. Carrier species entering critical stage. Do not leave homes during delivery cycles. Do not engage. Victims may experience stalking, marking, and attempted binding. The man's stomach twisted. Victims. The word echoed like a curse. He looked at the necklace still glowing faintly on the floor. He knew then this wasn't just stalking. This wasn't just instinct, it was mating season. And he wasn't just being watched, he was being chosen. The night encounter. The night was too quiet. No dogs barked, no crickets sang. The silence was so deep it pressed against the man's chest like a weight. He knew something was coming. He felt it in his bones. The necklace still lay on the floor, glowing faintly. He had not touched it since that night. But sometimes, when the house was silent, he swore he heard it pulsing, like a second heartbeat in the room. At midnight, the sound began. Not scratches. Not humming. A low vibrating growl. It seeped through the walls, rattled the windows, and crawled beneath his skin. The man gripped the edge of the bed, heart slamming like a drum. Then came the footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Crushing the gravel outside. He forced himself to the window, peeking through the curtain. His blood froze. The alien stood in the yard, glowing brighter than ever before. His silver skin had turned molten red, streaks of light crawling like living fire. His chest heaved with sharp, broken breaths. His black eyes glistened in the dark, wide and wild, and he was not alone. The air shimmered around him, echoes of his body, faint outlines twisting in the glow. Like multiple shadows peeling away, dancing and vanishing, the cycle had reached its peak. The alien was no longer just himself. He was something more, something unstable. The man stumbled back from the window, but too late. The alien's head snapped up. Their eyes locked. The alien moved. Not walking, leaping. In one bound, he crossed the yard and landed on the porch. The wood cracked beneath the weight. The man bolted for the door, but it was useless. The locks rattled, the hinges screamed. With one shove, the alien tore the door from its frame. He filled the doorway, glowing, trembling, breathing like a starving beast. His claws scraped the walls as he entered, leaving burning marks that smoked in the air. The man staggered back, chest tight with terror. The alien raised one hand. In it was a package. Not a normal package, wrapped in strange fibers that writhed like living threads. He set it down gently on the table. Then, without words, he pressed one claw to his own chest and let out a low, vibrating call that shook the entire house. The man's breath caught. It wasn't a threat, it was a demand. The alien stepped closer. The glow from his body lit the room in red. His black eyes fixed on the man with hunger and desperation. Each breath sounded like a growl held back by will alone. The man stumbled, grabbing the nearest object, a chair, and hurled it. The chair shattered against the alien's body, useless. The alien didn't even flinch. He only tilted his head as though confused. Then slowly he reached out a claw. Not to strike. To touch. The man's skin crawled. He backed into the wall, nowhere to run, and then a sound split the night, not from the alien. From the package, it cracked open, spilling light brighter than fire. Symbols poured out, floating in the air like glowing smoke. They twisted and circled the alien, binding around his limbs, his chest. The alien roared, the sound so powerful the walls shook. He thrashed, claws slashing the air, but the symbols held him, burning against his glowing skin. His body jerked, eyes wild with pain and fury. The man fell to the floor, covering his ears from the deafening roar. His heart pounded, his mind screamed to run, but his legs would not move, and then silence. The glow faded. The alien collapsed to his knees, chest heaving, claws digging into the floor. For the first time, the man saw something different in those endless black eyes. Not rage, not hunger. Desperation. The alien's voice finally broke through, weak, trembling, distorted but clear. Help. Me, the package secret. The room smelled of burned metal. Smoke curled from the floor where the glowing symbols had bound the alien. The man pressed himself against the wall, chest heaving, mind screaming to run. But the alien did not attack. He did not move closer. He was on his knees, body trembling, silver skin cracked with streaks of red light. His claws dug deep into the wooden floor, leaving long black scars. And yet, his voice shook with something that sounded almost human. Help me. The words echoed in the man's skull, broken and distorted, but real. He stared in disbelief. The alien had never spoken before. Not to him. Not to anyone. Then the package shifted. The strange wrapping dissolved into air, leaving behind a small device. It looked like a circle of glass no bigger than a palm, floating inches above the table. The man's heart pounded. He reached forward with a trembling hand. The glass disc lit up, symbols spinning across its surface. Then suddenly a voice filled the room. Not robotic, not alien, clear, human-like. Translator initiated. The man stumbled back. The alien's head lifted, black eyes reflecting the glowing disc. He growled low, then spoke again. Guttural words spilling from his throat. The translator hummed, caught the sounds and reshaped them. Cycle. Burning. I cannot stop it, the man froze. His breath caught in his chest. The alien wasn't just losing control, he was fighting it. My kind deliver letters not for humans only. We carry codes, warnings, bonds, the season makes us dangerous. I do not want to harm. I fight, but the cycle, stronger each day. The man's throat went dry. His fear twisted into something else, understanding. The obsession, the gifts, the symbols carved into wood. They weren't random. They were the alien's instinct, his desperate way of binding, of surviving. But why him? The alien's gaze locked onto his, black eyes reflecting both hunger and pain. He spoke again, the translator buzzing. I chose you, not for harm. For anchor, if I bind, I survive. If I fail, I break, I lose myself, anchor. The words struck like a blade. The alien wasn't hunting him. He was clinging to him, trying to hold on to sanity before instinct devoured him whole. The man's pulse hammered in his ears. Every part of him screamed to run, to leave, to call the authorities. But something in those eyes, something raw, desperate, made him hesitate. The translator pulsed again. Please help me, or kill me. The silence that followed was heavier than any roar, any claw, any scratch in the night. The man's hands trembled. The alien was no longer just a monster. He was something else. Something trapped between instinct and reason, between beast and mind. On the floor, the necklace still glowed faintly, its stones pulsing with light. The man looked at it and understood. It wasn't just a gift. It was a bond, a lifeline, a choice. He looked back at the alien, broken and glowing, fighting against his own body, and for the first time, fear wasn't the strongest feeling in his chest, it was pity. The final choice. The translator pulsed on the table, its glow washing the room in cold blue light. The alien knelt in the center of the floor, body trembling, silver skin cracked and burning with red fire. His black eyes locked onto the man, endless, desperate. The words echoed again through the device. Help me, or kill me. The man's chest tightened. He stared at the necklace still glowing faintly on the floor. It was no longer just a gift. It was a demand, a bond, a chain he could either break or wear. Outside, the broadcast crackled again, louder this time, almost frantic. Critical stage. Carriers unstable. Citizens remain indoors. Report sightings. Extermination teams are authorized. Extermination, the man's blood ran cold. If he called for help, soldiers would come. They would take the alien, burn him down like a rabid beast. The problem would vanish. The fear would end. He could be free. But when he looked at the alien, glowing, trembling, fighting against his own instincts, he did not see a monster. He saw a prisoner, a creature trapped inside his own body, begging for an anchor to hold on to before he lost everything. The house trembled as the alien let out another guttural roar. He clutched his chest, claws digging into his skin, light spilling through the cracks like molten fire. His body shook violently as if it was tearing itself apart. The translator hummed, catching fragments of words. I cannot last alone. The man's mind screamed, run, but his feet stayed rooted. His heart pounded, caught between terror and pity. Slowly, his eyes fell again on the necklace. Its stones pulsed like a heartbeat, steady, waiting. He realized then what it was. Not a gift. Not a trap, a tether, a way to bind the alien's instincts, to hold him back from madness. But only if he accepted it. The man's hand shook as he reached down. The stones were warm against his skin, humming faintly, alive. For a moment he hesitated. If he put it on, there would be no turning back. He would no longer just be a man hiding in his house. He would be bound, chosen, marked forever. The alien lifted his head, black eyes wide with raw desperation. His voice came through the translator, weaker now, almost breaking. Please, before I lose myself. The man's chest heaved. Sweat dripped down his face. Then, with a trembling breath, he slipped the necklace over his head. The effect was instant. Light exploded across the room. The alien let out a roar that shook the walls, but this time it was not rage. It was release. The glowing red veins across his body dimmed, fading into a softer silver light. His claws retracted, his body steadied, his breathing slowed. The room fell silent. The alien knelt before him, head bowed, chest rising in calm, steady rhythm. The translator pulsed one last time, then spoke. Anchor accepted. Cycle stabilized. Bond complete. The man's knees nearly buckled. His body trembled with shock, fear, and something else he could not name. The alien looked up at him, not with hunger, not with madness, but with something almost human. Gratitude. Outside, the night grew quiet again. No more growls. No more scratching. Only silence, but the man knew this silence carried weight. He was no longer just a human hiding from an alien. He was something else now. An anchor, a bond, a lifeline for a creature feared by all. He picked up the translator, staring at the glowing device. One final message scrolled across its surface. Cycle will return. Anchor must remain. Together. Or both fall. The man's chest tightened. This was not the end. It was only the beginning. He looked at the alien kneeling before him, glowing faintly in the dark. A mail carrier no more. A predator no longer, but a force forever tied to him. And for the first time, the man whispered the truth out loud. He was supposed to just deliver my mail, but in the end, I delivered him from himself.